Thank you so much for joining us for the 8th installment of Wise Wellness Guild's Wellness Month. Today we are joined by Abby Allen. Abby has this incredible history and experience that I'll let her elaborate on in being able to take her expertise and knowledge in mindfulness and understanding her practice of how to become more engaged with oneself and being able to apply that to business and being able to guide companies like Disney and Olay and from an agency perspective, being able to guide them into better understanding how to connect with people and I think portray people as they look at advertising and innovation. And so I am so honored. This is the second engagement that we've had with Abby. The first one that we did was in October. Back in October, it was the Sober Curiosity event where she led us through some mindfulness exercises. And I know that that was really my, dipping my toe into this space. And I was so excited when we decided to do Wellness Month and Abby agreed to lead us in this again today. So thank you so much. This is honestly such an honor. You are, world-class expert in this space. And I just could not be more thrilled to have you today, Abby. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining on Memorial Day weekend. As Stevie and Nori know, I was supposed to be in Paris today because it's my birthday next Friday and I'm turning 40. So it's a big birthday. And you know how birthdays are, right? Like many things in life, we put a lot of expectation on them. And I love my birthday. Every year, I'm like, well, when I'm dating someone or whatever, I'm like, well, what are they going to do? Like, what are my friends going to do? Like, and you hype it up and everything. And then oftentimes you get disappointed, right? Because like, it doesn't live up to what you had in your head. So this year I was like, I'm going to eliminate that. I'm going to plan it myself and like make sure that everything's exactly how I want it to be. I'm going to go to my favorite place and everything, right? So nothing can go wrong. And of course, like the best made plans, that a pandemic happens. And like, I had to laugh because I'm like, oh my God, like, this is hilarious. Like, I really believe, even though I've had all this spiritual training and I know intellectually, right, that we can never plan and the best laid plans and all the sayings and everything, right? And I'm like, I just have to laugh because not only am I not going on my trip, but like I'm kind of stuck in my house for like, a very big birthday of which a lot of things are coming up and all of that. So I just find it kind of like funny in a way because I'm like, all right, well, Memorial Day weekend, I guess what better thing to do than, talk about how do we live in a world like this. And the real kicker is the world has always been like this. This is not an unprecedented thing. So let's like just step back from that whole, we're living in an unprecedented time. It's not unprecedented, guys. Like since the dawn of time, there have been, whatever you want to call it, natural disasters, wars, famines, plagues, right? It's just perhaps in our lifetime, the economy has never shut down like this. We haven't had, some major disaster, and that's like a blessing, but this is not something new, right? So I think, at least for me, I take comfort in that a bit. Like when I step away from the like news feed and the hype and you think about, wow, like this has happened over and over again. And people have survived and the earth has survived and we will survive. And that doesn't mean to disregard like the hardship and the suffering at all, right? It just means like understand that things are always changing, always, always, always. It's just like we've never perhaps experienced it this drastically. Anyone though who has had, a major life disruption, I'm sure, right? Probably all of you, someone dying in your family, something that has turned your world upside down. Like, what this feels like a little bit, right? Like when something happens that you just didn't expect, and all of a sudden your whole life is different. So this is just another one of those times. And as my teachers say, like, this is actually a gift. And again, I do not mean that like the dying, the suffering, all of that is very real, but the chance to work with the emotions that come up and the fear and all of it is a blessing in a sense, because we very rarely have a chance to step back. Like, when else in your life are you going to be able to, like, not have to go to work or not have to do all these things, and be forced to be with yourself? And frankly, that is why so many people are freaking out, right? Because, and like, I have to go get a haircut. Like, do you really, do you like need a haircut? Like, it's okay, but it's because we don't have all these distractions, right? Like, all of a sudden they've been ripped away, and it's interesting, like in Ohio here, right? We're allowed to kind of do some things. It's all very confusing to me, and I'm kind of like just pretending I'm in another state where they're still locked down, but we don't have our distractions, so we're forced to be with ourselves, and it's very, very challenging, right? So how can we work with all the things that are coming up? And in full transparency, I mean, yesterday I just kind of like lost it. I was like, just overcome with grief, because we're all having like to give up a lot of things. People are dying, people are losing their jobs, suffering. I mean, it's a lot to take in, and it's very important to let yourself feel that, and we see like millions of memes and people's quote posts, and, and it's easy to almost become desensitized. And you're like, oh yeah, I have to feel my grief. You're like, yeah, whatever, and you keep scrolling. But it's true, so make space for that. So we're gonna do a bunch of little like mini meditations with the time we have together and some practices, because I guess more than anything, what my advice, I guess, for living in a post-pandemic world is, what are the ways in which we can accept things as they are, number one, and also how can we be kinder, more generous people, right? Like, the thing that's upsetting me most that I'm seeing now is, is this divide that's continuing to happen across the country, right? And I'm not going to get into politics and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, we are all human beings, and we do not live alone. We live together. So even if you don't believe in wearing a mask, somebody else might. So we have to interact with one another and the natural world, like, as if we all are here, because we all are here, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that I want to impart upon people, is this acceptance. And also, how can I expand my sense of me, right? The ugly piece that this pandemic has brought up is this, increasing tribal mentality, right? Like, me and my tribe, I got to protect my family, or I have to protect my race, or I have to protect the people in my state or my town and that is how we are in this place to begin with, is because we are only thinking about like me and my needs and my, my wealth, my prosperity, and ignoring the fact that it is all connected. So like, at the end of the day, if I go down, like, you go down, and it might not be immediately, but as you can see, right, we are all connected and we can't ignore it. And, you see so many articles and people talking about like, is this Mother Nature's way of punishing? It's like, let's also try to step away from the judgment. It's not like a bad, good, punishment, evil thing. And, it's very easy for us in a Judeo-Christian like country that we live in to get stuck in that binary thing, where it's like, we always think like something must be a punishment. It's not, like, try to think about it less as being a punishment, but as a rebalancing. We're out of balance. The earth is out of balance. We are all out of balance. I mean, you can feel it, right? I mean, literally before the pandemic happened, I was like running around back and forth between here and LA. I'm barely able to like breathe. And you know, again, I practice all this stuff and I still was like, oh, you know, I have to work more. I have to like on the verge of getting sick, right? But still buying into the prevailing narrative that we all have to keep working, keep making more money, keep doing all these things. And so I was out of balance. Most of us are out of balance constantly. Earth out of balance. So all of a sudden, this is like, sorry guys, you have to stop. So I want to know, like, how did everybody react initially? Was anyone like on some level, like, did anyone feel a sense of relief? Maybe even if you felt guilty about it? Anyone can chime in.
I can say I immediately felt panic for the loss of busy, right? And I felt panic, and then I finally, about a month and a half in, felt the need to, I started, you know, hearing people talking about baking bread and about like going on walks in nature. And I took my first nature walk in my woods since the time that I have moved here 4 years ago. And I was like, this is what people are talking about when they say it's a gift. You're trying to make it happen when that's not what we're supposed to be doing right now. And since I've given into that and surrendered to the ability to just be, I think I am finally understanding this pause and this moment. But it was really hard in the beginning. I'll admit that. It was surprising to me.
Yeah, and do you think, I mean, so for so many of us that busy, and again, I'm going to keep making this like asterisks.
Yeah.
I know that people on the front lines and people like, this is not saying, oh, like, I'm not ignoring that. I'm going to cover each of those sections. The busyness is part of our identity for so many of us, right?
Yeah.
So then could you look at that and be like, oh my God, who's Stevie if Stevie's not busy?
Oh, and the complete panic of like, I have to be with myself and my family and like my thoughts and like, no, just bury it down. And so I think that's like where like I said, the real growth of I felt the gift when I surrendered to it and just let myself understand that it's okay to not answer that email, or it's okay to cancel the vacation. Did I even want to go on the vacation? You know, it's that type of stuff. That did I want to go on the vacation to get the Instagram photo, or was I like really actually going? And so really questioning a lot of my motivations and pieces. So yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that there's other people that probably feel the same way. Sure.
Yeah, someone else.
I actually felt the complete opposite. Like, I was in denial, but then all of a sudden, and it could be the fact that a lot of my work, especially with Wise, is through social media. I felt this instant, like, I gotta bake, I gotta cook, I gotta homeschool, I gotta work, I gotta figure out a really cool schedule for my daughter and post it. Like, I felt people were making movie theaters for their kids. There's lots of art projects that are going on. Like, I felt a constant heaviness of, well, now I have all the time in the world, so I got to be really productive on this break.
Right.
So for me, before this, I was very good about being still and being at peace in a homebody, with my sobriety. Like, I got into that. So it was getting that back and letting go of the, you know, that there's a really good article that says you don't have to be productive in the
Right.
And my mom's like, perfect time to organize closets. And I don't want to organize a closet.
Right.
So I think for me, it was the complete opposite of slowing down. It was more like I felt like I had to pick things up.
Right. But perhaps also driven from the same place, right?
True.
Like,
Oh,
we
totally.
all feel like I have to do something. I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, I was realizing that too. Like I was weird, like busy. Like, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you so busy doing? Like watching your bread rise, right? Like figuring out like what kind of Instagram live show you have to put together. And then you're like, wait, Abby, this is so crazy. Like, but then you realize, oh, wherever you go, there you are. You and your same shit over, right? So it actually doesn't matter if there's a pandemic, if everything's great. You like that like ego thing that says, okay, I must be constantly busy to be worthy or to be, you know, whatever it is, it's still there. So can I look at that? Like, what is that?
Right.
Why do I think I have to organize the closet? Right? Like, or like fix my garden like so perfectly. All the things, you know? Yeah, totally. So it's actually the same.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about, we just have different ways that it comes out. And some people are just like downing cocktails, right?
Yeah.
Because they can't sit with themselves.
Right.
I was like eating more like, I don't know, cakes. Like at night.
I have a banner outside of my house that a friend made that says "Be still," and I see people walking by taking photos of it, and it literally every time I drive into my house, just reminds me to like go into my house and just be still with it.
Exactly. Right. Someone else have? How are you feeling? Are feeling?
I'll go. I like when this all happened, I like got really pissed off at other people, like through social media about complaining about the hashtag first world problems, you know, like, and I was just like, this is literally life and death for people. Like, and we're sitting here in our American privilege, right? And you know, I spent a lot of time before this. I spent half of my time in London, England, like traveling back and forth, and you know, and probably had it. And you know, a lot of my colleagues are in the UK, and they are very much in a worse off place than me as an American Ohioan, right? That has a governance, because the amount of the population, right? And then I hear about, you know, there's other like Brooklyn, right? Why aren't we talking about Brooklyn? And you know, in my social media, there was just like complaining about the first class things that were being taken away, and it just like pissed me off. So I went on, for the first time ever, a total social media break. Like I've never done it, and it was not that hard. And you would think it would be in quarantine, like sitting, looking for stuff to do, you know, that kind of thing. And it was not that hard. In fact, I'm back on Instagram, but I'm totally off Facebook, totally off Snapchat. Like Instagram, you know, that irritates me. But yeah, I had to have something. But I was like in the middle of initial quarantine, off social media for like the first week and a half. And it was great, because I felt myself getting really pissed off at my fellow Americans, my fellow, you know, honestly, white people. And like, it just pissed me off. So now I'm like in a much better place. I actually have this like calendar that I tear off every day. And this is a Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote: "So often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune." And so for me, the connection that I've been able to have with my husband is like deeper, because we're like in each other's space, and we like have fun, like we laugh and have fun a lot. And so for me, that was like the really great thing that came out of this, is like, we weren't ships passing in the night as I'm traveling to and from London, and he's like holding down the fort and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's kind of how the evolution, I'm like reflecting now on like my situation with my husband. Like we didn't have problems before, but we certainly didn't have the connection we have of like being this close to each other every single day and trying to find, you know, and getting irritated. Don't get me wrong, we get irritated, but we have like a lot more fun just sitting with each other. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So it isn't, that's the other thing. It isn't like this, like, I only feel or have felt one thing throughout this, right? It's also like this, you know? I mean, I've been furious also. I mean, because now we have this whole, this whole thing of people thinking like, oh, this is just happening to poor Black people. That's the undercurrent now, right? That's dangerous. I mean, all sorts of problematic. So yeah, so how do you, work with that anger, that, you know what I mean? All of the things, and then the grief and then the gratitude and all of them. So yeah, that's the other important thing. And we're going to do some breath practices. It's like when we can sit and be still and be quiet, you can you feel space open up for all of those things. Like, and you see that you can hold all of it. Like you don't have to push away the anger, you can watch it. And then as that happens too, you have those little moments of insight, and realization like, oh, there's like gems in this actually. And pain, both, all. And that's the case like all the time, actually, Yeah.
Abby, I think that to that point, just before you get into that, we heard a couple weeks ago from a psychotherapist that helps us out, Maggie, talk about with DBT therapy, like two things can be true at the same time, right? And I do think that there is something about society right now that is like good, bad. Like
Right.
it's either because we're consumed with so much information that we have to make a decision in order to isolate the variables and to make sense of it in our minds. And I think that is so powerful that you bring up that I myself, that is probably the largest area of like, I have a lot of growth in that space because I think that it's not, I recognize the gray, but I don't create space to allow for myself to like action against the gray. Does that make sense? Like I accept it, but I don't I don't talk about it. I don't talk about the gray enough. And I think that there's a really interesting thing with this community that we can embrace all the things and just let them be and allow for that to be accepted here. So I just want to make that comment.
Exactly. I mean, that's even thinking about like, I forgot. Okay, let's think about like the social distance shaming, right? Like I went to, I don't know, some greenhouse in Northside last weekend, and I had my mask and, and there's like a lot of young people there that weren't wearing masks, right? And my instinct, right, I get a feeling of rage. I watch it come. I want to like make faces. I want to like, make a comment as I'm walking by, and I'm like the energy from which that is coming is not good. It's violent, right? So I'm like, I don't actually want to perpetuate violence or shaming or that you're bad, you're good, you're right. So I need to breathe, catch it, and just walk on. And I also don't know those people's situation. They might have forgotten their mask. I forgot my mask the other day. And someone could have come up to me and started, yelling stuff or whatever. So that's what I mean about like, can we make space? So in this post-pandemic world, can you, basically, we need to take responsibility for our own behavior, our own feelings, our own reactions. Like just stop worrying about what other people are doing. Police your own behavior and your own thoughts and try to make space for more than one thing to be true, because it always is. You don't know other people's stories. You can feel multiple ways. Other people can feel multiple ways. And in that is where we'll find like grace, really, Okay, so I want to do a breathing exercise. So this is a bit not complicated, but I think you all can handle it. So just bear with it. And if you feel like it's hard, just try not to get frustrated. But if you do, that's also okay. So this, it's a pranayama, right? And pranayama is a breath practice, right? In the yogic tradition, it's one of the 8 limbs of yoga, right? Most people think of yoga, you think of asana, the poses, but yoga is an 8-limb path. And one of those limbs is pranayama, and it's learning to control the breath. Because when you control the breath, you control the mind, right? So we all know that feeling when you're scared or when you're angry, right? You stop breathing. So you can actually move your anger and your fear through by controlling the breath. So keep your eyes open for now, and can everyone just find a comfortable seat? Try to put your feet on the floor if you can. Sit up straight. Yeah. So the reason you want to sit up straight is because the energy flows better. Like when you're hunched, it gets stuck. And your life force, prana, moves up and down the spine, right? Through your chakras. That isn't just some like hokey thing. It's like actually real. And you can feel it. It's easier to breathe when your chest is open and you're up straight. So put your feet on the floor. So just follow my instruction for now, and then we'll do it on our own. And if you want, you can close your eyes. I'm going to close mine. So as you inhale through the nose, and then exhale through the mouth like you're blowing out a birthday cake. And inhale through the mouth. Then exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Slowly. Then exhale through the mouth slowly. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Now with your eyes closed, just sit in the stillness. Let your breathing go back to normal. And just notice how you feel. Do you feel a bit calmer than when we first started? Or not? However you feel is fine. In the stillness, I want you to think of something that has come up for you over this pandemic time. Some shift that has occurred in your life, or realization, or habit, or practice that you've started that you want to carry forward, even as things go back to quote unquote normal. What is something that you don't want to lose? Maybe you started eating meals together as a family. Maybe you're just moving slower. Whatever it is, just take a moment to think about just something, one thing. That you want to make part of your life moving forward. And then open your eyes. And if you have your journal, just write down whatever it is that came to mind that you want to protect and bring forward. Just take a second. And then I'd love if we could share, whoever wants to, of course. Alexis, you look like ready.
I think, yeah, that was so good for me because I have a hard, at night, I find like
Exactly.
7 p.m., I'm like, what do I do? And that's when I like, it's rosé, it's Netflix, it's like not, it's for me that, so what I got out of that was not like maybe an activity, but like the self-awareness of like 7 p.m. is like, in this time is when you get antsy, like the day's done, you know, in sitting with this. So for me, it's like, I just came off of like, let me do this at 7 p.m. Like set that aside. Maybe, you know, come into my office and do that and be, so it's this, what I want to take through this is that self-awareness of like what my triggers are, like in knowing, you know, that not having a heightened sense of, you know, something that's happening during the workday, like that calm, like not the stimulation is like gone. And so then I am sitting with myself, like you called me out. You're like, I have a hard time sitting with myself. Like, I'm like, that's me. So like, for me, it's like that, I kind of had like an awareness, like this helped me is like,
Good. Yeah.
understanding that.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that. I also like to talk about like practices that I'm doing right now. So I'm doing that breath practice. It's actually called the infinity breath. And you can, this is a mudra you can do too. Just press your fingers together as you're doing it. It will just also help, you know. The other thing is if you start doing this and you find like, oh, I can keep going. You can do it for like half an hour. And they say in the ancient yoga texts that that's really when the magic happens. So since you're feeling a connection to it already, try to like make, you know, experiment with making this a practice that you do. Like do it every day for 30 days and see if you can like get longer each time, because it does wonders for the nervous system. I mean, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And your mind, I do it at the end of the day too, or if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep and it's like that racing thing, and like all of a sudden it will just shift you.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, I find that I've been trying to get off, I mean, anxiety medicine through this whole thing, and I keep like trying to do it, and I'm like, nope, and I freak out, you know, like I'm attaching a lot of my my self-awareness to this medicine that I don't, and it was a situational thing that happened for me a year ago, and I just was like, this really makes me feel good, and I came very attached to it. You know, there was like a lot of life closing in about April a year ago, and for me, this is like, I feel this will help me move forward with that goal. So like, if anything you take away, Abby, from this is like, you've really helped me today. So I just,
oh, good. Thank you. That makes me happy. Thank you. Yeah. So does someone else have something to share, like any realizations too? Like what you want to bring forward in your life from this pandemic? I see a little child. Okay, well, if no one else wants to say anything, I'll share too. I really want to keep, it sounds weird, but like weeding in my garden. I realized like, so I was born and raised in Manhattan, and like my whole life has been this like achievement, like obsession. And everything is about like the end goal. So even when gardening, I'm like, well, like I have to get to the pretty part, and like, you know, weeding is just this like annoyance that I have to like get through, and like maybe there's some weed killer that's natural that I can like speed up the process. And then I was like, let me turn this into a meditation. Like, can I just stay with the weed? Just stay with the weed and appreciate my hands in the dirt. And you know, and I was doing that the other day, and I found this beautiful blue robin's egg, and I'd never seen a robin's egg, you know, in my whole life. And I was like, this is what happens if you can stay in the moment and stay present, instead of thinking about the next thing or like the outcome. right? And just be with what's there. Like magic happens, like the robin's egg, and you know. So I wanna keep weeding, like mindfully, just like one thing. Because of course I have like the urge to be like, and also I want to do this, and also I want to keep this and this. So yeah, that's my thing.
I can share something.
Yeah.
So I also said gardening. I've been gardening a lot, and I upped it a lot more this year since all of this happened. But my kids are getting a lot more involved with that, which I think is great. I never realized how much of an enabler I was with actually picking up after them. And I think it might just be, out of habit, or just out of, we were really busy and we had a lot of things to get to. So I just picked up after them really quickly. So now with all of this, I'm not doing that. So I'd like to continue that with them being respectful and responsible for their own things. And we don't say chores around our house. We say family obligations. And I really like that. And I'd like to continue that, especially because now, including my husband, he knows where everything goes in our kitchen now. And I love that. And so I want to continue that, because they all know how to use the vacuum cleaner. They all know where to put their clothes in their closets. And it's just a great thing out of all of this. They know how to respect our home. And it's not, and also my husband, I said earlier in the comments that he works in healthcare. So his job is just go, go, go with all this. So I have taken on the, homemaker kind of thing through this, but in the process too, we're also all contributing around the home, being in the home a lot more lately, but I'd love to continue that, because I just think it's great for the kids to learn to be more respectful and mindful of their surroundings. So I really love that.
And for you to let go of the need to make sure everyone's like okay too, right? Like on top of everything.
Yeah, I would always say, oh, I don't do that. I don't pick up that much.
Right.
And then I was noticing it way more, especially with my husband working from home. Why do you do that? Why are you doing that? I didn't even notice that I was picking up my son's clothes off the floor until he noticed it for me. And I just thought, one of those moments of, oh, I don't want his future partner having to carry that burden. That's just awful. So I stopped doing that, and now they're more responsible for their own things. So
that's a beautiful realization. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I just got chills. Like that's because I've also had a similar thing like that, stopping picking up. And I'm like, nobody's telling you have to do it. Like you're telling you have to do it. Right? And like, what is that? Yeah, that's so big. I'm like, I'm gonna tear up. But that's like the gem, Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Does anyone else want to share? Okay. I'm gonna read a little story just to kind of close us out, and then I know Stevie, you want to probably say a few words. So just close your eyes again for a moment, just so you can listen to my words. This is from Pema Chodron. I'm sure you've all heard of her and her sayings. She's like the most famous female Buddhist nun. There is a story of a woman running away from tigers. She runs and runs, and the tigers are getting closer and closer. When she comes to the edge of a cliff, she sees some vines there. So she climbs down and holds on to the vines. Looking down, she sees that there are tigers below her as well. She then notices that a mouse is gnawing away at the vine to which she is clinging. She also sees a beautiful little bunch of strawberries close to her, growing out of a clump of grass. She looks up and she looks down. She looks at the mouse. Then she just takes a strawberry, puts it in her mouth, and enjoys it thoroughly. Tigers above, tigers below. This is actually the predicament that we are always in terms of our birth and death. Each moment is just what it is. It might be the only moment of our life. It might be the only strawberry we'll ever eat. We could get depressed about it, or we could finally appreciate it and delight in the preciousness of every single moment of our life. So that's what I'd like to leave you all with. And that's like what you're saying. It's like, can I find the gems in the clothes on the floor, the realization of that, the weeds, just breathing, like all of those things. And they sound corny, but they're like so not when you actually start doing them. You know, and then your whole life becomes magical. And then you realize there's nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. Like it's all here now, always available to you. So, yeah.
I think that the biggest takeaway for me today is that, like, you hear a lot of this all the time, right? And we hear it and we're like, oh, that's a thing that we have to do on this to-do list, right? Is like, create space is a to-do. And it is so ingrained, especially women who are high achieving peak performers, such as like the women that we attract with this community, is we're all looking for the formula. We're all looking for the weed killer and like the thing to speed it up, when actually like like this is actually, you're living it every moment, and every time that you make a decision to create that space for yourself is one more step towards you being able to find that fulfillment and to be able to actually experience life versus watching life happen. And I know that I think that you, Abby, that I've been so inspired just by the work that you lead, because it's understanding that it doesn't have to, it's all integrated. It's all part of one thing, right? It's just choices that we make. And we can choose in these moments to feel anger or fear, or we could shift it. And those are very real feelings, but also it's a part of that journey too that allows for life to be more abundant. I don't know, this is the hard work. I know you studied for, 10 years now.
Yeah, but yes.
Not yet into Tibetan Buddha. Well, yeah, you did directly. And so I think that in these last 5 minutes, I don't know if anybody has any questions, specifically to work that you're doing on yourself that you would want to know, kind of how more reading that you could do, or maybe there's just more practice of where you might be able to tap into more of this goodness that Abby, I have so many questions, but I don't want to take up the whole time.
I know. And of course the achiever in me too, or I'm just excited. I'm like, maybe we should do these more often.
I agree. I would love that. I'm like, how do I start my day every day with Abby Allen?
I'm like, hey.
Well, you can start your day with breathing. I mean, that's how you start your day with Abby.
I'm gonna send that breath thing out to you guys. Like, I'll send you something for that. Yeah, please.
Breathing is so powerful. And Alexis, you said you have anxiety, and like my daughter does too, and she gets wound up at night.
Yep.
And one thing that we do is we literally just breathe together. And like my next tattoo is breathe, because it is the one thing that has made me muster through sobriety too, is holding on to that breath. And now it's gotten me really into the whole mindfulness thing, and and not just rushing through the life, but really, like when my daughter's talking to me, not thinking about the dishes in the sink, but like really listening to her. And it's so hard, but it's so powerful and so good.
Yes.
I found my brain like wanting to go somewhere else, and like you said, acceptance of that, right? But I was able to bring myself back to it. Like the last time that you were together, you taught me something that I'd never heard before. It's like, pay attention to the air, the way it hits your, like the inside of your nostril. And I was like, I think about that I know that sounds so silly, but it's so important, because if you can focus on that, then it allows for it to kind of flow through more of like, so I think that there are like little things like that that can allow for us to just create more space. And one of my biggest takeaways is I want like a gray zone. I want to make that something with Wise, like a space for like gray conversation that we can have like a zero judgment, leave your judgment on the outset, and like let's just have space for whatever you're thinking and like bringing in people. So that's like going to be a huge like big opportunity for us, I think, coming forward.
Totally. And one little mantra I just want to impart on you all that I kind of say to myself too is, it's like this now. Like, so you can be in a car. I use a lot of car things since I lived in LA recently, but the traffic and stuff. And I find myself like getting angry and I'm like, it's like this now. I mean, you can literally say that all day. It's like this now. It's like this now. Yeah. And even just in saying that, you will feel a shift and an acceptance and allowance of what is. Your breath will slow down. Because literally that's where our suffering comes from, is the fight against what is. And that's then the breathing gets all, instead of just allowing. So that's just a little like cheat tactic.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I have a million of these. That's what we have to do more stuff. You guys have been so great, ladies. This is so nice.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah, any other?
Before we have to go and enjoy the rest of our day.
I see the grieving. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got very teary-eyed in the story.
Good. Yes, me too.
I feel like I'm on the brink of crying, and I'm like, why? Oh my gosh! Like,
it's good.
Yeah.
Read more books from her. She's so good. Like the one that
Emma.
She's so good.
So good. Yes, exactly. Yeah. All right.
I think that this is not the last that we will do with Abby and kind of connect. So as I'd mentioned to Abby before this, I knew that this is going to be one of the more powerful sessions that we did. So I'm actually, we are going to post this to Instagram TV as well. So this will be a permanent, readily available piece of the Wise Instagram page. So if this is something, you can go and save it. Once I post it, I'll tag you guys on it, and then she can lead you. Maybe that's one of the ways that we start our mornings with Abby. And I think that the second piece to this is, as you know, we've spent this whole month really with each other 2 or 3 times a week now. And, people have been able to join some and not join some, and people are going back and watching things. And I think that this, weekly investment that we've provided to ourselves of creating this space, everybody should feel really good that this is a really good step into that investment. And, we talk a lot about wherever you go, there you are. And that's such a great way to think about this, is the type of person that you that you're growing into and evolving into and wanting to become. I think that allowing for yourselves to have this time and space, not in as we said, I'm not a woo-woo person, not in a woo-woo way, like really like actually allowing yourself to have the time to focus on this, I think is such a gift that you can give to yourselves, but also empowering each other. And I'm just so proud of what we've done this month. I'll talk more about that next Wednesday, but in particular for you taking the day out of this crazy busy Memorial Day weekend and actually really taking this time to say, now you can run off and go make water balloons or a cake or like whatever you've got to do, but just please give yourself space and go and
nothing.
Yeah, but like giving yourself the grace to say, like, when you're doing it, just be with yourself and like actually be in that moment, be present, and take the weekend off of social media. I think I'm gonna maybe do that. I was thinking that like maybe that's a good thing until Tuesday. Maybe I'll just, it would be a good thing for me. So Thank you, everybody, so much. Abby, could not be more grateful for you. Please get out this weekend, be in nature, enjoy, hydrate, please hydrate, and wash your hands. And we will see you next Wednesday, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Abby.
Everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.